and I cannot wait for us to dive in to what we're going to talk about tonight. And hey, flower friends, welcome tonight to the live gardening show. I just have some really fun things for us to talk about tonight. And we're not really talking about hairy balls. That's what this is. But I just did a filming with using these for something. And I thought these are just the coolest things. And I thought if you have never seen hairy balls yet, if you're new to our live gardening show, this is a seed pod that develops on a tropical plant that blooms in late summer and into the fall, and we have sold it for years and years. And I just wanted to show this. I'm sure that Suzanne will be using some of these tomorrow tomorrow in the big show where she's doing the bouquet studio. I bet she'll be using some of these. So friends, I just had to share those with you. So friends, I just want to welcome y'all here tonight, and I want to welcome anyone that, if this is your first time here, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am the founder, owner of the Gardener's Workshop, which started as a dream of a girl that was barely a gardener back in 1998, and I launched my little city flower farm, and it just took off. And here I am all these years later, and have found that my greatest gift is empowering other people, teaching and sharing what I do. And after being a professional flower farmer for over 25 years, I'm now on a mission, and that mission is to empower people, particularly someone like me that is maybe a garden piddler, and they just don't even think they can grow cut flowers. You look at cut flowers and think they're so perfect, and you think, I could never do that. That was me. I'm here to tell you, friends, yes, you can. And that is what I help people learn about, how anybody that's got a little spot of sunshine can actually do this. And I'm already going to have to peel this coat off, y'all. It was so chilly when I came out here. And I do that by sharing what's going on here on our farm, showing you and demonstrating, and then offering up the things that I do it with. I offer the same tools, seeds, and supplies, and resources. And tonight is, I'm going to tell the story about how our resource that's coming out this winter, which has actually been the brain of my flower farm for the last 15 years, how that all came about and how it just molded me into this amazing 3-season, amazing meaning when people come here, or our florist or our customers for all those years, just saw the ebb and flow of all the flowers that we offer. Y'all, it is so much simpler than you think, and it's all because of this big calendar. And I'm gonna share with you tonight a little bit about that, about the calendar, and how I used it and how it came to be. And then I'll be doing a little live Q&A. I don't know why my mouse is way over there, y'all. I'm going to do a little live Q&A at the very end. So if you'd like to ask a question in the comments, you can just put @Lisa. And then I'll be doing a little live Q&A. Sorry about that, y'all. And put your question, and I'll do my best to answer some of those, right? And you know, I want to just say, especially if you're new here, that's why I always do our little housekeeping. Friends, we absolutely are so grateful to you guys for using this little button down here in the app. That's the share button, to let your friends know that you're over at a live gardening show, and to invite them on over. We thank you for sharing with your friends and letting them know all about our show. Now, the housekeeping tips here in the app is that when you go to place an order, please double check your email address and your phone number. There's frequent typos, and we can't ship to you if we don't have a valid email address. The shipper won't accept it. So please double check that. And remember, here inside the app, seed packet only orders ship. We pay the shipping. It's on us. We love it when y'all do that. And there's a cap on product shipping, and that's $11.95. So it doesn't matter how many items or products you purchase, you only pay $11.95 once. We do ship to all 50 of the United States with no international shipping available. Now, friends, if you just happened upon me here on social media, I'm so glad you're here. But you just need to know that we have a free phone app. This is what it looks like. And you just have so many more options inside there. First off, you can submit questions for the Q&A. You can also participate in the comments with the other live viewers. And that's just always a lot of fun and great things happening. And also, you know, if you see people posting the sunflower emoji, that is folks that are actually we call them our TGW family. But sorry y'all, I'm just looking at this. Okay. I don't see any, there's a comment. I was going to say, I don't see any comments yet. Usually we're lit up, and I was just thinking, am I really live? So, hey, Wendy. So the emoji is the people that we consider the TGW family. Those are our online course students and members of the Flower Farmer Club. So those are just little love notes that they're sending to us, and we absolutely love it. So, friends, I want to jump in, and the other thing is that I have for the end of the show is I have a big announcement about something that's going to be available to you guys, and we'll talk about that after we do the calendar here. So I want to talk about the big calendar. First, I want to show it to you. So we just have the proof of the cover. This calendar we call it the big calendar. It is 20 inches across and 30 inches long. It is what's called an any year calendar. And y'all, this isn't really about a calendar like you buy decorative calendars. This is a working horse garden calendar / journal, okay? And I have the black and white proofs here, and I'm gonna actually just kind of peruse through the pages, and I'm gonna talk about it and tell you what you can kind of expect. But this is what it looks like. It's in full, beautiful color. It has my guide for I've been saying 8, but it's actually 9 different succession planting windows. And then the inside back has this tip page with just some great references. It's got some resources on there for irrigation and buying plugs, that kind of stuff. So this is what we're talking about, is the big calendar. And if you have read any of my books or taken any of my courses, I have talked about, now I'm cold again, y'all. This is the story of this time of year is torturous for me. It's like hot, cold. I have coats all over the place. Why do I have this coat on tonight? Because I've laid my other coat somewhere and I couldn't find it, the one you usually see me in. So, hello, everybody. So this calendar I've written about, there's pictures of the big giant calendar I used to use, or I've been using, that this one was based on. And I've always referred to it as the brain of my farm, because here's the thing. You sit down in the winter. For me, that is typically, I usually would set aside 2 weeks in January where I would sit down with the current calendar and all my past calendars. That's why this is called a journal, y'all. When you use it the way that I suggest on here, it becomes one of the most powerful resources that is custom to your garden that you can create. You're not writing journals on here, y'all. You're writing specific, significant things that you might benefit from in the future. And you're writing it in places on the calendar where you know where to look back for the sunflower seed starting, where your regular seed starting is, where the first harvests are. These are all things that I have just found to be really, really useful. And I could have written 2 more full pages of things you could write on this calendar. But I will tell you that the information that's on this calendar is also in my book, the Cut Flower Handbook, about finding your planting windows. But this is a thick book. What I have done is taken those essential steps to figure out your windows, and that's the information that is included on this calendar, because it streamlines it for people to be able, literally, it's just 1 full page, and you plug in your frost dates and your winter lowest temperature, and then just sit down with the calendar and start counting, y'all, and that's where it all starts. And, when I used to do lots of lectures, traveling the country and teaching people garden, a frequent talk that I would give was on organic gardening, like to master gardeners and garden clubs, right? And I would often say to people when I start that, and because I show all these voluptuous, beautiful flowers, long stems, we don't use really any pesticides, and people are like, what is your secret? It must be so amazing. Organic gardening and living organically with a garden is so much simpler than what people think, that they miss it. It just goes right over their head. I believe the same thing is very true with succession planting, which is the secret sauce to, if you want to become a flower farmer. I mean, it even applies to vegetable growers. Succession planting spreads out the work, spreads out the harvest, spreads out everything. And that's called consistent quality. And that's what this calendar did for me. When I could sit down, when I would go to a conference or read a book or learn something, I would go straight to my calendar and add if it was something that applied to timing or a new seed I wanted to start. There's a place for notes at the bottom of one of these of the bottom of each month page. And I would designate, if it was me, well, I would just say, this is what I do, is when I come across new varieties that I want to grow, I pick 1 month. And that's where I put it at the bottom of the calendar. So you only have one place to go look. You haven't got to flip through all the pages. I also want to just mention, I have nothing against spreadsheets. I mean, I'm digital. I own a company that's in e-commerce, right? But the value of having this simplistic system down on paper and to have it hanging, especially if you're a flower farmer. If you are starting a flower farming business, you are ultimately, if you're going to succeed, you're going to have another person or two helping you probably in the next year or more if you're successful at what you're doing. And that's, for me, what changed my life, was instead of everybody relying on me to look at a spreadsheet and say, oh, this week we're supposed to start this or we're supposed to do that. But even more importantly than that, in the middle of July when it's 100 degrees and I am barely able to fix cereal for dinner, the last thing I need to try to remember is, what seeds are we supposed to start in July? Some of the most important crops in my book: cut flower kale, the biennials that have to be planted in late summer, fall blooming. We have snaps blooming out in our garden right now. Why? Because it was written on my calendar in the proper place. Would I have remembered that in the middle of summer? You can count on I would not. And that's how this becomes just such a powerful tool. So this big, giant paper calendar hangs on my work building door where we're all coming and going, right next to where the bathroom is. And everybody can see what's happening and what's going on. And when we're out in the garden harvesting or something, and there's something significant, like if you're growing a new crop and you've got your first handful of harvest, if I can't do it, I might tell somebody, go in and write on this Saturday for this week, first harvest of whatever it is. Saturday are days that I write pretty significant things on. And you're not writing a book, y'all. You're making it at a glance, right? That's the real value in doing this. So you saw what the cover looks like. And what is this? Oh, this is not the cover. That's the black and white one. And so the second page into the calendar, this is a black and white proof, y'all. This is not, it'll be in color when you see it. But these are my steps. Right here, these are the 9 succession windows. Everything you need to know for finding your planting windows is right here on this page. I mean, I could not make it any simpler. I'm telling you, every time we proofed it, we got rid of more words and got rid of more words, just trying to streamline it for you guys. So this is the second page in. It tells you everything. So let's see. It's like, first thing you do is fill in the dates, because this is an any year calendar. That means it has the month written at the top, but you fill in the dates. That way, if you buy 2 at once for saving on shipping or something, you have one for this year and one for next year, right? So you fill in the dates. Then it instructs you to find your conditions, your frost dates and your lowest winter average temperature. And then it's your outdoor succession planting windows. I have Cool season hardy annuals. Actually, I think, yeah, cool's first. There's very early spring, summer planting for fall blooms, summer planting for biennials, fall planting, winter planting, and then it's warm. First planting, second planting, third planting, and then it's the sunflower successions. Friends, and then it's all about streamlining seed starting and figuring that all out. And then the seed starting list, we have a QR code. I have created a list of the flowers with their lowest temperatures, just what you can use to then actually plan your seed starting. And then a supply list, and then a place for notes that you can add. I'm telling you that it's gonna just make it so simple. It's finally gonna click, because what the simplistic piece that people really don't get is this is sitting down for, for me, for 2 weeks. The reason I dedicate 2 weeks is it's not likely that I can spend 5 days in a row doing this, because, I have another job. I run a business, and so it takes, but I set a deadline. You do it and get it done. It's not meaning you're not going to add stuff to it through the season, but you get the big job done. So let's look at what one of the, so the actual month pages, this is the juicy part, y'all. The days that you write on, can you see how big they are? I mean, you can actually write on these, right? And at the bottom of every month is this tip deal. And I'm just gonna go through and read to you what the tip title is for every month, my heading for them, right? January is Dream and Plan. February is Start Seeds Indoors. And that's just kind of a general of what the tips are there. March is Prep for Planning. April is Plant and Protect. May is Sow and Grow. June is Bloom Time Begins. That's when everything, goes crazy in June. July, Mid-Season Momentum. August is Evaluate and Extend. September is the Fall Transition. October is Clean Up and Tuck In. And November, and there's about 15 to 18 tips on each one. November is to rest and reflect. And then December is time to dream again. And then on the last page, I've created, when I was writing the instructions on page 1, there were just some things that needed a little bit more explanation, and I didn't want to clog up the planting timing with it. And so I've added those things on the back page. Things like tips on writing on the calendar journal tips about how I kind of use it, seed buying suggestions, seed storage, big picture succession plan. Y'all, this is like, so the simplistic succession plan in 3 inches of text. Planting once you have your calendar from previous years. That is the joy of this, y'all. The second year, when you get to sit down with your new calendar and have your old calendar and all, I have 14 years, I think I counted upstairs, where I open them all to January, and I just take my time and reading the notes that I wrote, and I find so many gems in there that I'd forgotten about, or flowers that one year it didn't do well, so we just kind of stopped growing it, and you forget about it. Well, now you're older and smarter, and you think, you know what, I'm trying. That's how I started growing billy balls again. And now I'm like a 36-inch stem, right? I mean, amazing, right? So I tell you how I do that. How much to have on hand. I kind of suggest and tell you about, compost and fertilizer and stuff. And then I also suggest how I use the columns. Like what I write on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What do I write on Thursdays, Friday? That kind of thing. I have some information about cover cropping, garden coverings use. That's talking about row cover and tarps and all that. Seed starting notes, some resources. And then I also put on here, when we were in high production, I put my flower farming work week that just kind of shared that. And friends, I mean, I almost wished I hadn't called it a calendar, but it is a calendar. But it's so much more than a calendar, right? And it becomes a journal when you actually write on it. I mean, for instance, when you purchase the calendar, it's going to come with a pencil and a string. And that is because that's the pencil we recommend that you use to write on your calendar. The brand, because you can erase it and it doesn't smear, right? Because you are creating a record here. The string, I actually tie the string to the spiral bounding and tie it to my pencil so it's hanging right there on the calendar. And that way when somebody comes in to write first zinnia harvest or whatever, the pencil is right there, right? I think that this will become such a valuable tool. And I want to tell you that, so it's $39.95, which is a bloomin' deal, I want to say. I mean, the big calendar that you previously used basically cost that much, but this has the guts of how, I mean, it's got so much information on it, right? Plus shipping. But here's the things that I want you to remember. All pre-orders, people that pre-order it before it actually gets here, it'll ship the end of November, fingers crossed, get invited to a live workshop of us walking through those 9 succession planting windows to say, this is what you put here, and then you count back this many weeks, and you know what I mean? We'll fill out your calendar, and then based on the rest of the instructions, it'll be so easy for you to then count back and find your seed starting dates. I again want to just say this is so simple. It is literally sitting down and counting on a calendar. That is how people do have these stellar plans. And it's just, I see it as very, very simple. So I want to just tell you how I got started, how I learned about this. I went to a cut flower association, especially cut flower growers conference in Oklahoma many, many years ago. I literally had no money to do that, but I spent it. And I learned, I mean, it was worth it because that's where I learned about a giant calendar and how useful it can be. So I think I've shared before that I was sitting on Vicki Stanback's farm is where it was hosted. And we're sitting in a big work building, bigger than my building, because she was a huge grower. Anyway, we were all sitting in there in chairs, listening to speakers and all that kind of stuff. And I sat kind of near the front on the left, and there was a big metal file cabinet that was turned sideways. And on the side of that file cabinet was this giant calendar. And I could almost read it from where I sat, but I could definitely tell that it was very well organized. And I went up and looked at it afterwards, and I went to her, and she's like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about this. This is what keeps us on time for everything. But it's so overrated. You can put all the alarms, all the reminders, all the digital stuff you want on your phone and your computer. But I'm telling you, it is paper that keeps the day-to-day stuff moving, which is what a flower farm is really made up of, right? So that's when she said, told me about it. That's where I learned about weekly sunflowers. And she said, this is where we put it. I mean, you can go so deep. You can put when you should order seeds, when you should order plugs. There's just so much stuff as you become a better grower because of this calendar that you'll start adding to it and perfecting it. And you know what else this means? It almost becomes an SOP, a standard operating procedure for your farm. It's like when you have this kind of stuff. So let's just say I get hit by a bus tomorrow. They could literally look at our calendars and figure out when to start stuff. They don't really need me, right? And I've never really thought about that before, the SOP part of it. But that's exactly what this is. It becomes just the actual SOP for my farm. So I use a pencil. I told you that. The directions or it's not directions. Everything is a recommendation, right? Y'all can do whatever you want. And one of the things that Jesse pointed out to me and when we were brainstorming and kicking back and forth, what typically happens when we're developing content, a lot of the times I start it and get stuff down, and then Jesse kind of mulls over it and tightens it up and brings perspective that I don't often have sometimes. And her suggestion was we were going to make more notes on the monthly calendars, like what I write where. But she said, not everybody may use it that way. they may put their family stuff on here too. So that's why this back page came to be born. That's where the days of the week column use of the way I do it. I tell you on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday columns, Thursday, Friday, Saturday columns, what I write in each one of those. And you can do that for you for whatever fits for what you're actually doing. And you can just, there's a place at the bottom of each month where there's lines for you to write on. That could be where, one of the things that I am a big advocate of when I'm teaching flower farming students in flower farming school that nobody thinks about is after I finish my calendar, my 2 weeks, usually first week of January, I start seeds, but that does not take long. We're not starting very much. Eucalyptus, stock, some cool flowers, and then I'm done. Start on the calendar. My goal is to have the calendar done in 2 weeks. And then the next 2 weeks of January, you want to know what I do? I cook. I binge cook and fill my freezer. My goal is to have 2 meals a week for the harvest season. Because I'm telling you, friends, on harvest days, because we harvest twice a week, on those particular days where we are just dead tired, I'm the girl that's walking across the driveway from the fields in this building into my house at 5 o'clock thinking, what are we going to have for dinner? What can I pull out of the freezer and instantly have ready, right? We eat because we have to eat. I don't live to cook, right? So that's what I do the second week in January. And these are the things that I think, like during the summer when you're just not getting to stuff, that's what I would write on the notes at the bottom of these pages of things that you need to attend to once you're out of season, right? You can start a list of big jobs. There's just so much stuff, y'all. So you can pre-order it. It's up. I totally think it's going to make people just so much more successful as 3-season gardeners. And remember, again, I don't have any actual hoop houses or greenhouses. I do everything outside in the garden. And that's why everything works off of your frost dates and your winter lowest. And I will tell you that it's also the absolute perfect companion to, where is it? The Cut Flower Handbook, y'all. To sit down with your calendar and the book is like the perfect pair. And you work on your calendar and find your planting windows first. You're not writing down flowers. You're just finding out, when am I supposed to plant my first succession? When am I supposed to plant my second? Can I plant a third succession? You figure all that out. Then you go to work dreaming, and all the flower pictures and everything you need is in here. And then the download that we give you with the QR code has a real quick a sheet that you can look on to actually figure out when you start the seeds. So the Cut Flower Handbook, which I would love to actually sign one for you, and it comes with a PDF, a special bonus also when you purchase it from us. And so we send you a QR code when you purchase the book to download. These are the 6 flowers we couldn't fit in the book, y'all. Literally. Imagine it, me having too much to say, right? And so if you print this at 85% on your printer, it fits right inside your book, which is really just very, very convenient. So I am so excited about this calendar. The plan is that it will start shipping the end of November, which is plenty of time. The live workshop will be once we get it in our hands and start shipping, we will then make the plan for the live workshop. And that's really going to be a lot of fun, y'all. So let me see what else. So the calendar is $39.95. The book is $30. And, I just can't wait for you guys to have it in your hand. So now I have a really special announcement, which I know that many of you are waiting for very anxiously, and that is that we have partnered with a grower to offer some plants. And I've grown them. You know, they've passed the Lisa test. I grew them this summer and fall, and I actually have some of them here to actually show you. And I'm going to bring them up as I show you. So this is just developing, y'all. And so when you can't purchase them tonight, they won't ship till spring, but you can get on the wait list. So as the details roll out, you know, the cost, the shipping dates, what that all is. So you can just click to get on the wait list, which simply means when Kelly gets all the details worked out and gets it all uploaded, you will be the first one to know. And so y'all want to see them? Okay. So let me see. I didn't really put these in order. So first off, so we're talking about, to let the cat out of the bag, we are going to be selling in low numbers, gardener size 4-packs, dahlia plants and mums, both which are something I used to grow years and years ago. They were incredibly fun and valuable, and we just really feel really good about offering these, and it's a little bit different than what a lot of other people are offering. And so I'm going to first start with the dahlias. So the dahlia plants, and I have like 1 or 2 blooms of each one of them. They all got used for something earlier this week. Is that if you haven't grown dahlias before, there's a lot of great, gorgeous dahlias, right? Most of the ones that you see grow as tall as me. They have big blooms, and they can be challenging, especially for people that haven't really mastered being a stellar netter yet. And so we purposely focused on offering varieties that they are lower growing plants. These are about hip high on me, and the blooms are smaller, which makes them a whole lot more useful, and they're still just as beautiful, right? And so I want to show you, I'm going to bring them up one by one. So this one I only have one little bloom of, I think. No, I actually don't have the first one. So Linda's Baby, which I have just brought up, is one that I don't actually have a sample of here tonight, but she is beautiful. It's got a little bit of an orangey tinge in the yellow and pink. It is just so very, very scrumptious. And so you can get on that wait list, and then as all the details roll out, and these will be beautiful. The plants, when they came to me, y'all, when I opened them, and I've ordered plugs for years. That's high volume. It's like if you need 128 of these, you're not buying these from me. These are for folks that are just getting started or gardeners that want to have access to plants that you're just not going to find out in the open market, right? And I will tell you that when I grew dahlias all those years ago, I didn't plant tubers. I planted plants. I was shipped plug trays full of plants, and I was so much more successful. It was just easier. You didn't have to wait for them to sprout. There's just a lot of steps that are just totally eliminated, right? So Linda's Baby is one of them, and then this is the one that I actually have one of the blooms of. Look at this, y'all. Isn't she beautiful? And so you can see, this is like the size of the sunflowers that we try to grow, right? These are like the perfect cutting size, or just to have out in your garden. And they are not so unmanageable to learn how to wrangle them. And so this is Coralie, and I would say that this is pink with a light pale yellow throat, and just really, really beautiful. And then this is the one that I love the name, Strawberry Cream, right? And I hope you'll be able to tell this. So this one is Bobo fell in love with this one. She was the one that was like, we have definitely got to sell these dahlias. These are just so different than how we experienced dahlias before. So this is a super clear pink with like, you know how some of the sweet peas will have blushes written on it, or like they've got stripes in them? That's what this guy has. And last week when we harvested, there was one that was like a dark raspberry color, and they said that that's kind of happens. That's kind of where these came from. So this is strawberry cream, and I just love this one. And again, friends, I love the little part of these. They are just so much more manageable out in the garden. And then this one, which, you know what this one reminded me of? This made me think of our white swan marigold. Look at this color. This is creamy, and it is buttercream, y'all. This is absolutely beautiful. So very, very useful. So we're only offering 4 different dahlias and 4 different mums, and this is them. And I love them all. I love them all. Now, the mums, which I have more of them to show you, what I love about these mums, when I grew mums for several years back in high production, and I never really perfected getting the right ones to bloom earlier in the season. What would happen is they would bloom like at Thanksgiving, which is okay if you have other flowers that you're marketing and selling at that time. Well, it didn't. And that's what I love about these mums. They have been blooming here for about 2 weeks. So they just become a great filler flower. So let's see which one I'm supposed to pick up first. So this is really a basic one. But I feel like white is such a useful flower. And so this is the white mums, and these are all have tall stems. And, you know, having one stem of white mum to pop into your mixed bouquets is pretty great. And these start out, I'm just looking for one that's really early on. Here's one. I'm going to pop it off. Whoop. They're kind of greeny in the center when they're immature. Look at that. And that's what I love. I love white flowers that really look green, because I mean, these were cut 2 weeks ago, y'all. That's how long I've been working on this, trying to get everything together, and they open. So you're actually cutting them when they are just in the opening stage is what I do, kind of like I do for so many flowers. So this is, what's the official name of this one? Mum Bridal White. So, you know, especially if you are doing event work or anything, this is a clear white actual flower. Now, who do you want to look at next? Oh, this one is just so great for this time of the year. I think this one is so appropriately named, and I want to pull this one. Y'all, I get everything so tangled. So this one is called cranberry wine. I mean, this looks like the Rubenza Cosmo that we grow, or the cranberry. This is just such a great color to have, and I love it when these are just opening, and then these over here, they have the yellow center that's starting to be revealed. You know me, I always love them when they're really, really tight. So this is the cranberry. And, you know, the thing about mums that are so amazing is how darn long they will last, right? And then this is perhaps my favorite of all of them. And this is this guy. And this is called Pumpkin Eyes. Pumpkin Eyes. So it is a yellow with an orange tint. And y'all know orange is my favorite color. Look how pretty these are. Here's one that's more open. He's kind of hidden down in here. So this is a nice size bloom. So these would be good candidates for mixed bouquet ingredients this time of the year. Super long lasting. Sorry, y'all, I keep seeing something move over there. I'm pretty sure it's a cricket. I had a grasshopper in here today. I'm telling you, I thought it was the Terminator. He was so big. I could not end his life. I stepped on him and he still kept going. It was really pretty wild. So this is Pumpkin Eyes, and I love the name, and I love this one. I love a light color, right, for mixed bouquet. So that is Pumpkin Eyes. And then the last one of these is the Harvest Dawn, and that is kind of a rusty color. Oh. Y'all. There are so many of these that have been rubber banded together. So this is how they age out, right? Earlier, later. Look how pretty they are. And this is how we're all trying to have Rudbeckia in the fall, which we can't really do because it's day length sensitive. It won't bloom or set bud in short days. And it's all those dark, rusty colored Rudbeckias. Here we go. It's the mom, right? So you can get on the wait list, and then as the information rolls out, it'll come out in the next couple of weeks. And it is just really going to be a lot of fun to have, again, having a couple of different ingredients to add to our fall lineup. So we're just really happy to be working with someone that, sorry y'all, I'm picking up flowers off the floor. Working with someone we have total confidence in. And when I received my package of plants this past spring, they were just tall plants, great quality, and we're really happy to have connected with a partner, and we're going to be bringing them to you. So get on that wait list, and would love for you to get on the list. All right, so friends, let me see where I am here. All right, so we talked about the book. Want to remind everybody, if you're new here especially, we have a big website, thegardenersworkshop.com, and it is loaded with videos, blogs, our podcasts. You can connect with a lot of stuff. Get on our farm news. That's where everything is announced first, y'all. So if you can sign up at the bottom of every web page, so you can find that over there. And we have done a couple of podcasts about the calendar if you want to learn or hear more about it. We have two podcasts. Seed Talk is one. Episode 123 was planning your growing season with the big calendar. And then Field and Garden, which I host, episode number 358 is Chaos to Clarity, the origin of the big calendar. And that's it in a nutshell, chaos to clarity. And you know what the best part is looking back at last year and have the hard work, the work's done. Now it's like you get to become more of a grower instead of just trying to scramble to figure out when you're supposed to start stuff. Remember to join tomorrow's. My sister's running the show with Kelly and Susie tomorrow. They're going to have an extended bouquet studio. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure and join them inside the shop app. And stick around, and I'll be looking at your questions. But if you're heading out, thanks for joining me. And I can't wait for you guys, for us to meet on the live to fill out our calendars, and y'all to have the calendar at home to actually do it. All right, so let's see where we are here. All right, so hello, everybody. You're so welcome, Becky. All right, Lisa, I can't wait for all my cool flowers. I'm an artist and I love to print and use my flowers in my paintings. That is so awesome. Congratulations, Claire's already ordered her calendar. Linda, looking forward to getting your calendar. Over the last 3 seasons, I've been using the big at a glance you recommended. It's been very useful, just like you said it would be. So yes, I used that giant calendar for all these years. What it was the most useful for is the big squares. And I'll tell you what the real holdback was. We could not find a printer that could print this size paper, and the most important part is spiral bounding it. And I mean, we tried to go local. And then when I went back to the big commercial printer that we used to use back when we produced a big catalog, I asked them and they said, oh yeah, we can do that. And it's like, all right, lay it on me. What kind of cost are we looking at? And it was actually affordable, that I could compete with other big calendars. And plus, it's just so very, very exciting. So Linda, yes, that's where it came from. All right, I use my calendar to record sowing, planting, first harvest dates, lets me know just how long it takes any particular flower to be productive. I mean, you can really go deep. I would recommend at first though, especially if you're just getting your sea legs, that you go with the basics and then build on it. But the thing is, you always write in pencil so you can erase if you need to. Lisa, I retire the 28th of this month, 43 years as a pharmaceutical researcher. It's time for me. I've been watching you for a little while. Love it, all of it. My new me. Well, congratulations on retiring. And that's a long time to stand and do the things that you do. I was involved at NC State in a research program with heart disease with golden retrievers, and got to know a couple of researchers, and it is nothing like what people think. That is hard work. So congratulations on reaching the end of that journey for you. Just ordered mine. Oh, great. Congratulations, Megan. When will we receive an email about that? So I'm not sure if you're talking about the flowers. So if you get on the wait list, as soon as they're made live on the website, you'll get an email from being on the wait list, and then it'll also be announced in our newsletter. And also when the calendars ship, you'll get a shipping ticket if you've actually ordered. Is this good to use just for a personal cut flower garden? Roxy asked. So Roxy, for sure. And we're already talking about how would there be a different one for a home gardener? All the same information. What makes this so unique is actually having big enough squares to write in. So for sure, definitely for a home gardener. And especially to get one, to do it, to figure out what you're doing. And then you decide, because what'll happen to you is then you'll be growing so much stuff, you might be becoming a flower farmer. That's what happens to most of us. But yes, it definitely is applicable for a home gardener. Roxy, for sure. Figure it out once, write it down, then never have to refigure it. Yep. All right. Linda's is one of my favorites, that dahlia. Linda's baby should not have an open center. You need a better picture of Linda's baby. That doesn't have an open center. Okay. Any of these zone 4 to 5. So, Joan, if you're talking about the plants, these are all planted in spring and they go through the growing season, so they don't actually have to go through a winter, if that's what you're asking about. All right. So Betsy's asking, do the dahlia tubers get dug in the fall? So these come to you as small plants that are grown from cuttings. They will grow tubers. So yes, you can. And that is something we'll probably try to line up some resources for you. But Jenny Love, who's in Philadelphia, which I believe is zone 6 or 7, she's been doing it for years, and there are tons of people doing it. Actually, a lot of people can actually winter over dahlias, more than we ever thought before. So we'll try to get you some resources on that. But yes, they will grow tubers. All right. Is this to purchase seeds? You can purchase seeds in the app here, but the dahlias and the mums will actually be live plants that will be shipped directly to you from the grower. All right, Lisa, do all cool flowers bloom in the spring? What are the exceptions? No, they don't all bloom in the spring. And it's what, spring is relative, right? What is spring? Spring into early summer, but then of course there's Lysianthus that blooms in the middle of summer. There's Helenium that blooms in late summer. So yes, they're in Triloba rudbeckia. So not all of them. The lion's share of them bloom in spring and early summer. But then there are some scragglers that actually don't even start to bloom until what we like to call them is they like a cool start and a hot finish. So you have kind of a mix on that. So friends, thanks for joining me here tonight. We're excited about the plant thing. And it's just something we've been asked to do for so long. And to do it in a home gardener, just getting started, maybe early flower farmer that just wants to actually experiment, as well as we're really happy that the grower selected plants that aren't so ferocious. I mean, our dahlias, holy cow, that we used to grow were towering over us, and it was just a bit of a struggle. This is a great way to get your feet wet in dahlias and in mums, to have another ingredient for your fall bouquets. So friends, I hope to see you tomorrow Suzanne to see you tomorrow at the 12 o'clock show. Remember to keep your notifications turned on here in the app, so when I do a pop-up like this, you'll be notified. And friends, I cannot wait for you to have your big giant calendar. And I just think it's going to just revolutionize and simplify so much, like it did for me. All right.